Narayanam Naskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatam Vyasam Tato Jayodiyat Nashta Prayashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevya Bhagavati Tamashoki Bhaktir Bhavani Naistiki Nigama Kaparu Garidam Param Shukamakaram Joy Samitam Pibata Bhagatam Rashamayam Mahora Horasika Bhuvi Vakaham Krishna Sadhama Pagade Dhamagana Karuna Sadhi Samasha Parana Koduno Ditaham Tamapiada Vishuddha Vishadam Vibhu Samapiyarana Vidambirucharam Prakyahidahur Mahur Tatman Shankleshana Vanamusanti Nanyataham Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Taya Cha Jigadhitaya Krishnaya Govinaya Namo Namaha Mangalang Bhagavan Vishnu Mangalam Gudadajaja Mangalam Padani Kaksho Mangalayatano Hari Om Narayanaya Vidmahi Vasudevaya Dhimahi Tano Vishnu Prachodhyate Om Mahadevi Cha Vidmahi Vishnu Padnya Cha Dhimahi Tano Lakshmi Prachodhyate Mahalakshmi Namastuvyam Namastuvyam Sare Sare Hari Priya Namastuvyam Namastuvyam Dharine Tapta Kanchana Gonagi Radha Vindavanesware Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamani Hari Priya Subham Karoti Kayaram Aragamadana Samdana Shati Bhuti Vanashane Karotu Mamaravashanam Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Gurudev Maheshwara Guru Shaksha Paraparama Tajmai Shri Gurave Namaha Dugme Padimi Andasha Skalapate Gara Shakripa Yasinanidu Shantu Shadovanam Mukam Kavir Bakari An Shabarishmarine Pangu Yinangani Te Katarigani Nama Om Vishnu Panaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Shami Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunibari Praskada Desarang Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Hare Hare. Welcome one and all to Transcendental Tuesday. Thanks for joining us. Manasa Ganga, Jean, Gary Montana, Gary from Northern California, and Rob called in earlier to say he's traveling in his car downtown Salt Lake City from his home in South Jordan. So he will make some notes, write down some takeaways, and send them to me by email, but I won't be checking in with him at the end of this talk. But we're talking about the character and qualities of Maharaj Ambarish. Yesterday, we hit on the points that by hearing about the glories of Krishna, as Maharaj Ambarish did assiduously, you get Sudhikaran, Buddhikaran, and Riddhikaran. You get purification of the heart, you get sharpening of the intellect and a rearranging of your priorities, as well as increased affection to the Lord. We also talked about 4 categories in human society who should be treated as God. Mata Deva Bhavan, the mother should be treated as God because she gives you language and values. The father should be treated as God because by his hard work, you're supported, maintained, sheltered, and fed. The Acharya, Deva Bhavan, it gives you your connection. The mother gives values, language. The father gives support. The Acharya, the pure devotee, the Guru gives you your connection. He gives you your service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then Atiti Deva Bhavan, the guest who comes uninvited, untimely, who just drops in spontaneously, and how you react to that interruption is going to determine whether you stay stuck where you are, whether you go forward, and if you go forward, how far and how fast you go forward. It's the interruptions, it's the unplanned incidents in our life that reveal what it is that we're really made of. You study the life of Lord Jesus Christ, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the really, really learning stories, the instructive stories about their lives come not so much from the planned schedule events, but what happened unexpectedly on the way to the planned scheduled events, how they put those scheduled events on the back burner and intentionally focused on the person who had interrupted them or intersected them on the way. The great teaching moments in all of spirituality come from seeing how the avatars and great saints and gurus deal with unexpected situations. And life is all about that. We try our best to plan and predict everything. And yet, despite the best laid plans of mice and men, things often go awry and leave but grief and pain for promised joy, as the poet Robert Burns said. So being flexible, trusting in God, even if things aren't going according to your plan, according to your timetable, those reactions on our part, that attitude on our part, is going to determine whether we make spiritual advancement or whether we get stuck. I forget the quote, but somebody said, life is 1% what happens to you and 99% your attitude towards it. So nothing tests our mettle, our inner value, than having an unexpected, uninvited guest show up at our door. Now, if on top of that, just like take Arjuna. Arjuna's mettle was tested every day. He'd been trained as a warrior. He fought many, many battles against many, many bad guys. There wasn't a day went by that his character wasn't tested. And yet, when he faced his teacher, Bhisma, Dronacharya, his cousin brothers, that was a test beyond any other test. That was a test in the extreme. That was an extraordinary test that Krishna put his devotees through in order to showcase the tolerance, the peace, the equanimity, the compassion, the kindness, that his devotees did not get upset under the most provocative of circumstances. Similarly, throughout history, you've experienced it, I've experienced it. We've had unexpected guests arrive, and sometimes we've handled it well, and sometimes we've handled it badly. But most of the time, the guests that arrived at our doorstep were a little apologetic. They said, I should have called. I'm sorry. I hope you're not busy. That's what we don't like about sales calls, isn't it? On our cell phone. We don't like the fact that they just call. They don't care that they've interrupted us. They don't care that we've run in from outside, that we picked up the phone panting with some sort of mild expectations only to hear a recorded voice. They don't care. They don't apologize. And that's what we hate most about unsolicited calls. If they would show a little bit of concern and sensitivity, we wouldn't be nearly so much irritated about them. But they're just demanding and impersonal. And many of them, it's not even a real human being. It's just a computer voice. Okay, so my point is that we've all had the trial, the tribulation of unexpected guests show up at our door. In most cases, the guests were good people. They were friends of ours. They'd done something for us. We had a connection with them. They're apologetic. And so it was a test, but it wasn't as hard a test as it could have been. Now, Maharaj Ambarish had show up on his door, the most irascible, unpredictable, out of control sage. Throughout all of the Puranic history, Durvasa shows up here and there, and he always is in a bad mood. He's always grouchy, and he has the capability of cursing not only you, but all of your contemporaries, all of your ancestors, wherever they are, and all of your descendants. Anything will displease him. As a guest, you could bring him a good meal at noon, and he would sweep it off the table, contemptuously saying, I'm not hungry. Why did you do this? Then he'll get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, get you out of bed, say, I'm hungry, cook me a feast. And if the feast wasn't just so, after you got out of bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, went in the kitchen and cooked for him, if the feast wasn't exactly to his liking, you'd still get cursed. So there's uninvited guests, just like for Arjuna, there were battles, and then there were battles. There were opponents who were, for the most part, bad guys, but then Krishna one day sent him opponents that, had done a lot of good for him and made him what he was, and created a moral crisis, a test of a more extreme nature than most tests that we have to face. So similarly, Maharaj Ambarish was a king. People are coming to him all the time. He's not his own man. The king is at the disposal of the citizenry. And so he's got an open door policy. He's used to receiving uninvited guests. But this is the most trying, the most difficult invited guest in all of cosmic time and in all of cosmic places. So this is an extreme test for Maharaj Ambarish, just as the Kurukshetra war is an extreme test for Arjuna. Now, here's another consideration. If you just finished watching your favorite program, if you just finished watching that football game with your favorite team, and you're taking a break, and you've had a meal and you're completely satisfied and you're not quite sure what to do, and the doorbell rings, you might actually be happy about that. Oh, perfect timing. Open the door. Come on in. Yeah, just looking for someone to do, someone to talk to. Perfect timing. That might be great. But let's say you're in the middle of fixing a meal, or you're at halftime on the Super Bowl. Someone comes in and they want to distract you. They want to talk about something else other than what it is that you're focused on. You're hungry. You're barely paying attention to what they're saying because you're wondering what the score is in the last part of the fourth quarter. You're like, you might be smiling and going through all the motions, but inside you're screaming, I'd just go, go. At a time when they say something and they expect you to say something back, you just kind of don't say anything, just kind of smile and nod your head, and you're thinking, maybe if I don't say anything, they'll get the hint and leave so I can watch the fourth quarter. Or maybe I can go back to cooking that meal because I'm starving. Maharaj Ambarish, even though he's a king, even though he had in his kitchen the most accomplished gourmet chefs in the entire world, could eat anything he wanted at any time of the day he wanted, because he had a character of the highest caliber. He practiced discipline, humility, detachment. He was fasting. Now, we fast 2 days a month for Ekadasi. I heard a story about a little boy in Bombay, born of devotee families, and asked the older devotees, said, is there Ekadasi? Is there fasting in the spiritual world? So the devotee said, why do you ask? He said, because if there's fasting in the spiritual world, I don't want to go there. He was thinking, it's so uncomfortable on the fast days. And we don't even fast wholly. There's the option just to fast some grains and beans. You can eat plenty of potatoes and tapioca, other things. But even just fasting from grains and beans is sometimes painful, sometimes arduous. So here, Maharaj Ambarish, although he was a king, he didn't have to do it, but he's always detached. He's always trying to sharpen his devotional instincts, take it to the next level. So he fasted for 1 year. 3 days before he was about to break his fast, he went to the sacred Rajadam, the sacred land where Krishna appeared and exhibited his activities 5,300 years ago. He went to the Madhavan of the forest of Vrindavan. He went to the Madhavan forest, and he spent the last 3 days of his fast in the very area where Krishna performed his childhood pastimes, completely absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. So after 1 year, he's about to break his fast and take a little bit of grains. So you can imagine he's hungry. I don't know about grouchy, but normal person would be grouchy in the extreme, hungry in the extreme, even after fasting 1 day, to speak of fasting for a year. Maharaj Ambarish is not in a place where most of us would show grace. Can I put it that way? Would you agree with me? After having fasted for 1 year, being in the holy place, completely absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, here comes Durvasa Muni, who himself is not so Krishna conscious. He's an incarnation of Shiva. He's an incarnation of Rudra. He's a personification of anger. And he's very demanding. He's extremely demanding. So when Maharaj Ambarish is approached by Durvasa Muni is a jarring interruption to the peace and serenity of his Krishna consciousness. He's loud, he's brash, he's egotistical. It's all about him. So there's every trigger point here. There's every provocation. Maharaj Ambarish is weakened. He's hungry. He's indisposed. Durvasa is not Krishna conscious, not God-centered, self-centered, demanding, loud. Everything is set. You might say this would be the perfect storm. There are so many trigger points. Just imagine you or I. There are any number of trigger points that would cause us to totally explode, to erupt, to become a volcano of anger and indignation. And yet, even though Krishna is testing his devotee, not only testing his devotee, Krishna knows that Ambarish is going to pass the test. But Krishna is sending the perfect storm to show how much in control of their senses and their mind are his devotees. He's showcasing, he's putting his devotees in the limelight. Apuryamana machalapritam shamudam rapapashan yadbat kama yamahar shashantim apnoti nakami. The peacefulness, the equanimity, the deep, deep oceanic satisfaction of the devotee cannot be disturbed by the rivers, just like the ocean cannot be disturbed by the rivers that flow into it. Devotee is so deep in his love for and appreciation of Krishna. Sometimes the example is given that devotees are like the big aquatics that live in the bottom of the ocean. Big, big sharks, whales, tumangila, giant squid. These have their permanent residence deep, deep in the ocean. So similarly, devotees like Ambarish are like aquatics with fully formed bodies who live deep, deep in the ocean. They're submerged in the ocean. They can never be dislodged or extracted. On the other hand, the tiny drops of water which float on the surface of the ocean, they can be affected by the heat of the sun and become evaporation and separated. They can be extracted from the ocean. The sharks, the whales, the tumangila, the giant squid can never be extracted from the ocean. So no matter what provocation that you send a devotee's way, be certain that devotees on the level of Maharaj Ambarish are not going to bat an eyebrow. They're not going to bat an eyelash. Ambarish folded his hands and genuinely, with sincerity, he welcomed Ambarish. That's the first thing you do when a guest comes. Shragatam. You welcome them. And then asanam. You offer them a place of sitting. And then you offer them some water to drink, and then you offer them some food. Now, the problem is that according to the rules of Ekadasi, of fasting, there's a certain titi. Just like the guest is arriving unannounced, unscheduled. So there is a clash brewing here. There is a clash lining up here, is that Ekadasi has to be broken exactly at a certain moment. And now you have Ambarish being faced with an unexpected guest at that very same point in time when he has to break his fast. Now, the etiquette is you don't eat when your guest comes, even if you're ready to sit down to a meal. You offer that meal to your guest, and then only after the guest is eaten can you eat. So Maharaj Ambarish arranged a beautiful meal on the spot for Durvasa Muni, which should have made Durvasa happy. But then Ambarish asked some of his counselors and ministers, how can I break this fast without breaking the fast? I don't want to break the fast while I'm giving hospitality to a guest at the same time, because that would be censurable, that would be condemnable. But at the same time, if I don't break the fast at exactly this time, the whole year's effort would go in vain. So how do I break the fast and not break the fast? And so his counselor said, drink a little water. Drinking a little water is taking something at the same time it's not taking something. This would be a good compromise. And nobody in their normal state of mind would be bothered by this. But the problem is we've got Durvasa here. And Durvasa is not only very touchy, very self-centered, but he also is a yogi. So he knows things that are going on that he shouldn't know. But when Ambarish took a little bit of water, Durvasa realized that he'd done that. And there was really no offense. However, in the mind of Durvasa, because he thought that when he comes, he was so great that everybody should put everything aside. Never mind. He had no sensitivity or appreciation of the fact that Ambarish Maharaj had been fasting for a year. He had no gratitude for the fact that rather than taking food after a year's fast, Ambarish just sipped a little water. How much relief is that? You know, let's say you've been fasting. How much relief are you going to get? You've been fasting from solid food for 24 hours. How much relief are you going to get by drinking a little water? I'll tell you, none. Remember, this isn't like a gallon of water. This isn't enough to make your belly feel full. He just took a tiny little drop of water on his tongue. Physiology and anatomically, physiologically, there's no relief from the hunger, the gnawing hunger from doing that. Ambarish, Durvasa had no appreciation whatsoever for the discipline and the respect that Ambarish Maharaj was showing to him, his guests. Soon as he determined that Ambarish Maharaj was drinking a little drop of water, he became outraged. How dare you take something in the presence of your guest? You're a low-class person. You don't deserve to be king. You don't even deserve to be alive. So what Ambarish Maharaj did, he conjured up this fire weapon, so many hundreds of thousands of BTUs, and he directed that fire weapon towards Ambarish Maharaj to destroy him. So that's setting the scene a little bit. Let's just backtrack, talk a bit more about the character of Maharaj Ambarish, and then you'll see, based on the character of Maharaj Ambarish, how it was that not only was he not singed by the fire weapon of Durvasa Muni, but the tables were turned, and it was Durvasa Muni who, in very short order himself, was in danger of being burned to ashes. Yesterday, we talked about how it was that Maharaj Ambarish had divine vision. He saw Krishna everywhere. He did not see separate, fragmented items in this material world. He saw only Krishna's energies everywhere present. Tato nyata kinchani abhira pritag disha shatkritadam nakarichit kwapichita labeta mata bata hari bashvanam. A realized soul does not see car, does not see trees, does not see pavement, does not see residents, does not see clouds, does not see woman, does not see man. They see these, but underneath it all, they see that all these are just names, temporary shapes, forms, configurations, manifestations, always in a state of flux, always in a state of change, never permanent, never static. So they see that this is a world of names only, and they don't get sucked in. They don't let their energy, their vital force get sucked into pursuing a name. For instance, you own your house. What does that mean? It's just a name. The house is temporary, your body's temporary, your family's temporary. How is it that you own the house? If you're actually in any sort of cosmic sense, the owner of the house, and when it's time for you to die, you should be able to take the house with you. Or you should be able to come back in your next life to occupy the house again. In your next life, you should be able to pick up the deed and say, see, I owned this house in my last life. I'm still the owner of this house. And yet neither of those scenarios is practical. The house goes to somebody else. You can't even come back to your house. You have to go take another body. In that new body, you have to learn to walk all over again. You have to go to school to learn the skills that you need in order to make a living. Then you have to buy another house. And then after that lifetime, you're kicked out. How can you say you own the house? How can you even say you own this body when you cannot retain it? If you own something and someone comes to take it away, you have rights, don't you? You can call the police. You can hire a lawyer, and you can retain what you have. If it's been taken, you can get it back. So if you own this body, why can't you get it back? Why can't you appeal to some cosmic form of justice? That my body has been taken away from me, my wife has been taken away from me, my house has been taken away from me, but it's mine. I swear to God, it's mine. I own it. I worked hard for it. I have the deed. I have the marriage certificate. You cannot take this away from me. I own it. No, you don't own it. We don't own any. It's just names. House, my wife, my children, just names. Just a way of distracting oneself, of illusioning oneself, so one misses the main point of life, which is, in fact, everything is the energy of Krishna. Whatever there is either the energetic source, Krishna, whom we can only see through the path of love and devotion, Otherwise, whatever else there are the energies of Krishna. And it's not our position to try and take possession of somebody else's energy, somebody else's property. When we try that, it sets us up for misery. We become criminals. Ishtan Bogani Bodhiva Dashanti Terdatam Yobuk Dashtani. The mentality of trying to enjoy, trying to take possession of thinking of I and mine is the mentality of a criminal. And we know criminals can never be happy. So that's the divine vision of Maharaj Ambarish. And the second point to note about his character is his strong attachment to Krishna. Now, when you're attached to somebody, you see everything else in relationship to the one you love. You go to the mall and you see the children's shop and you think, oh, I should bring this back for my children. You go to the fashion shop, you go to the woman's shop, you think, I should bring this back for my wife, or I should get this for my mother or my father. One's devotion, one's energy and one's money goes to the point of one's greatest devotion. If the point of your greatest devotion are your children, then your energy and your money will go to your children. If your point of your greatest devotion is to your body, you're a bodybuilder, then your money goes to gym and special supplements and special trainers, mirrors to look at yourself. Whatever is the greatest point of your devotion, that's where your energy and that's where your money is going to go. If you want to know what it is you're most devoted to, you may say, I'm a Catholic, I'm a Christian, or Muslim, I love God, God's first place in my life. Well, if you want to verify whether that's true, just go through your checkbook, see where your money goes. Does most of your money go to God, or at least 10% of it go to God, to honor God, to take kingdom for the God, to establish missions and institution, to print literature, to organize festivals for God? Is that where most of your money goes? Because if that's true, then yes, God is your highest point of devotion. If that's not the case, if your money and your energy go to your gun collection, or to your truck, or your wife, or your kids, or to your recreation, your bodybuilding, your sport interests, then God is not the number one point of your devotion. Idols are the number one point of your devotion. By idol worship, we mean temporary things. You're taking solace, you're taking shelter, you're looking to things which are temporary for your sustenance, for your maintenance. You're setting yourself for misery if that's the case, because those things are temporary. If you lean on something that's temporary, when it falls, you're going to fall with it. So only God is to be dependent upon. So therefore, the highest point of our devotion should be God. And the proof that that's true in our case would be that most of our energy and most of our disposable funds will go to taking new kingdom for the God. And why is that? That all comes about as a result of the mood of attachment. When the mind is attached to something, whatever it is that the mind is attached to, the senses are going to follow suit. If your mind is attached to guns, then you're going to spend a lot of time hunting. You're going to spend a lot of time at the gun range. You're going to read a lot of gun magazines, and you're going to think about guns a big part of the day, because your mind is attached to guns and the senses automatically follow through. If your mind is attached to money, you're going to read Money magazine. You're going to follow the stock markets. You're going to invest and follow all of the ticker tapes every day. You're going to associate with other people who are money minded and talk with them, and then thicken your interest in money. You're going to calculate your net worth twice or three times a day, because the mind is focused, attached to money. The senses are going to automatically follow. However, for those whose minds are attached to Krishna, the same principle holds true. Savai mana Krishna paradavinda. The mind of Maharaj Ambarish was attracted to Krishna above and beyond his wife, his kingdom, his wealth, his prestige, his body. He was attracted to Krishna far above and beyond anything else. And because of that, Savai mana Krishna parada vinde, he always served the lotus feet of Krishna. Whatever senses he had, his hands were engaged in offering arti to the Lord and sweeping the temple. His voice was engaged in talking about the Lord and discussing with great saints and sages. His ears were hearing the nectarian words from the saints and sages. His mind again was engaged in remembering, Smarnam the Lord. His legs were engaged in walking to and from the temple. His wealth was engaged in building temples and keeping a high standard of deity worship. There wasn't any talent or ability or attribute or quality which was under the control of Maharaj Ambarish, which he did not use in the service of the Lord. And the reason for all of that was because of his attachment. Vitaraga Vyakroda Manmaya Bhavamogara Pudama. Many persons in the past, being freed of lust, greed, and anger, jettisoning, throwing overboard their attachments to temporary things and transferring their attachments to the lotus feet of the Lord. Many people in the past achieved the full-flown level of Krishna consciousness and went back to home, back to God. Now, talking about the mind is capricious, the mind is peevish, the mind is petulant, the mind is childish. The mind's duty, when it's uncontrolled, is to distract you, to trip you up. I think of the mind as that character in the Tolkien movie, Lord of the Rings. I think of the mind as like Gollum, a really creepy, crawly sort of an entity, which comes up with the most undignified scenarios. Whenever my mind comes up with something totally unseemly or critical of someone, or you just got to shake your head sometimes at some of the things the mind comes up. The good news is that you're not the mind. The mind is like a child. You're like the driver of the car. This body is the car. You're the driver. And the mind is like a child sitting in the passenger seat, trying to distract you. Daddy, look at this. Did you see that? Check that out. Now you have to keep your eyes on the road. And you cannot pay much attention to that child sitting in the car with you. If you do, it's going to be a formula for disaster. We have to keep our mind fixed on where it is we're going. When the mind tries to distract us and throw a monkey wrench into what we're doing, we need to learn the art of ignoring the mind. I have a technique that when the mind comes up with something which is just embarrassing, mentally, I take my fist and I imagine the mind, and I actually do this sound. If I'm among people, I don't do it out loud, but I'll do it quietly. I go, mentally, I take my hand and I slap the mind right across the side of the head just to get rid of that thought. It usually works with me. I don't know. It works with me. So how to control the mind ultimately so they can cultivate the attachment to Krishna and the senses can follow suit. The quality that is called into play for controlling the mind is the quality of humility. One has to have enough humility to take shelter of a guru. Now that's particularly difficult for kings. Everyone's deferring to the king. Everyone's bowing down to the king. No one dares to contradict the king. No one wants to tell the king. No one wants to correct the king because the king has the power of life and death. If the king is displeased, he can send you to the gallows if he wants. So there are not many people who would dare to disagree with the king. But the Brahmins, the saintly persons, the Krishna conscious people, their sustenance, their shelter, their guide, their Lord is Krishna, not public opinion. They're not worried about the king, what the king may say or think. And those kings who are truly kings in terms of character, they have the humility to take advice always from the Krishna conscious people. The devotees and the saints have nothing to gain. They have no personal agenda. They have no selfishness. They have no ambition. They have no greed. They're not envious of anybody. They're perfectly disposed and detached to give an objective third-party opinion to the king. And that's why all the great, truly great kings of the world, all the great kings who were devotees after the way of Maharaj Ambarish, they had the humility to take advice from the gurus, from the Brahmins. Just like iron filings are naturally attracted to a piece of iron. Don't they always just follow that piece of iron? Similarly, pure devotees of the Lord, Krishna conscious people, when you follow them, when you take advice from them, they always attract you. They always pull you like iron filings towards the service of the Lord. There's no other result by following and taking the advice from saintly persons. The inevitable result will be that they will expertly engage you in the service of the Lord. So despite his success, despite his power, despite his obvious favor and blessing on behalf of the Lord, none of that made Ambarish so proud or swell-headed that he could not seek advice from the Brahmins. He ruled the whole world based on the Brahmins' advice. I heard it said that the greatest vice in the world is not to take advice. The greatest vice in the world is not to take advice. And the greatest wise, the greatest wisdom is to take advice, especially from the detached, non-materialistic, non-envious, non-greedy devotees of the Lord. When you talk, it is said, you only repeat what you know. When you listen, you almost always learn something new. No one is perfect. No one has it all. Some can sing, but some can't give a talk. Some can give a talk, but can't sing. Some can dress the deities, but they can't manage. Some can manage, some can't dress the deity. Some are very good at fixing cars. Some are not good at fixing cars. Some are good at empathy. Some are not good at empathy. Some are good at drama. Others are not good at drama at all. There isn't any one perfect person except for Krishna. Krishna is the only perfect person. And those who are reflections of Krishna are also perfect. Prahlad Maharaj again says, Nevatmana parborayam nijadabha manam janada bidasho yajajano tachatmane pratimakasya yatamakasri. Just as whatever perfection there is in the face, whatever beautiful earrings or makeup or eyeliner or however the hair is coiffed, that same perfection, attention to detail, is reflected in the mirror image. Krishna is the only perfect person. Those who are perfectly Krishna conscious, they mirror. They are like the mirror reflections that whatever qualities of wealth and beauty and compassion and kindness and humility that are there in Krishna, those qualities are reflected in the pure devotees of the Lord. Just like the sun has so much power to do good, so much power of purification, so much power to grow and nourish vegetables. And when that sun is caught within a prism, we have chandeliers which have little sort of prisms hanging down. So there's nothing more beautiful and worthy of attention than when the sunlight comes into that prism and starts bouncing around and exhibiting blue and red and green. And it's extremely attractive. So the qualities of the Lord, as they're reflected in the lives of his pure devotees, are extremely attractive. And that's why there's so many statements throughout the scripture. Take the devotees of the Lord as non-different from the Lord. They may not have the Lord's qualities to the same degree that the Lord has, but they have the Lord's qualities to the degree that they need them to fulfill their mission in their lives. The only perfect person is Krishna. But Krishna's devotees serve Krishna by being attached to Krishna, by using everything there is in Krishna's creation to honor Krishna. Prahlad Maharaj says, Yata brahmatyadam shayamakarshi samadam ye yata nam prapatire anantun shara param chakra prana yadiksha. He says, someone asked Prahlad, well, how did you become Krishna conscious? Prahlad says, my guru, Narada Muni, pulled me like an iron pulls a filing, a small filing is pulled inexorably to the larger iron piece of iron. So when I came into contact with my spiritual master, Narada Muni, his Krishna consciousness created such a vortex, such a whirlpool. It had such a sucking effect. The level and magnitude and depth of his intensity and devotion, it just pulled me in like an iron bar pulls in iron filings. Maharaj Ambarish had the humility, he had the flexibility, he had the interest, he had the predisposition in order to be pulled in. We don't exactly know who his guru is. He or she is not named in the pages of the Bhagavatam, but we know that everything that Maharaj Ambarish did with enthusiasm, with devotion, with inspiration, all of that was triggered by his association with and his willingness to serve his guru. This is the path to perfection. Prabhupada wrote one book called The Path to Perfection. We are parts, we're not the whole. We're infinitesimal, tiny little living beings. We don't have it all. We don't see it all. And yet, if we are firmly fixed in devotional service to the Lord, if we're firmly situated in the middle of service to the Krishna conscious spiritual master, then we can achieve perfection. That's what struck Prabhupada's early disciples about Prabhupada. It seemed like every gesture, every word was supernatural. That Prabhupada was so malleable, he's so surrendered that the Lord within the heart, Krishna, the supreme God, whose every move, every thought, every gesture, every lifting of his eyebrows, volumes and volumes of meaning. So that those qualities of Krishna, of the Supreme, were transparently displayed through Srila Prabhupada because of the total level of his surrender and commitment. And as soon as the young boys and girls saw this perfection shining through Srila Prabhupada, we may not be perfect, but if we allow the perfecto seated within the heart to be the life coach, to guide our activities, then we become as perfect as it is possible to be. That's how a 70-year-old man with no money, no influence, living from here to there, from pillar to post in the Bowery in the late 1960s, was able to get traction, was able to get followers, was able to get a foothold, and eventually spark a worldwide spiritual revolution known as the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, because the devotees of the Lord reflect the perfection of the Lord. And therefore, as the Lord is all attractive, pure devotees are similarly all attractive. So we talked about the character quality of divine vision yesterday, which was possessed by Maharaj Ambarish. We talked today about Maharaj Ambarish's attachment to Krishna, and we also talked about his humility to take shelter of a guru. Tomorrow we'll talk about Maharaj Ambarish as a leader. We're going to talk about Maharaj Ambarish in connection with protection on behalf of the Lord. And then we're also going to talk about his spirit of detachment. The more that you're attached to Krishna, the more that you become detached in the material sense of the word. So that finishes up here on Transcendental Tuesday. As I said, Rob is on the road, so we're not going to disturb him by asking him to respond, but he said he would take notes and send by email some little pithy takeaways. And so we'll review those and maybe add them into the comment section. Thanks, Rakesh, for joining. Rakesh bids everyone a good morning. He says, Hare Krishna to everyone. And who is everyone? Everyone includes Govinda Dev. It includes Sundari Priya. It includes Bhakti Gary. It includes Pragna and Yogesh in Dallas, Texas. Haribo, Brent Spencer, Bye Bobby, Christine Warden, Gary Montana, Jean Eskelson, and Manasa Ganga, as well as those who didn't actually make a comment on Facebook, but who are listed up here in the upper left-hand corner of our window as having joined us live here on this Transcendental Tuesday. So I hope our thoughts and reflections on Maharaj Ambarish are going to give you fuel to go through and power your Krishna Conscious Tuesday. We'll see you again tomorrow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare